Joining us now is Father John Anglin, the Wandering Friar, and he joins us to talk about his new book. Father, thanks so much for being with us.
My privilege.
Thanks for wandering in.
Yeah,
right.
You didn't have to wander too far from you. Just sitting over here. Now you're just sitting over here. You were born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and even though you wander about as a preacher, I hope you still support the home teams, the Red Sox, do you?
I certainly do.
Remember,
Red
we're in
Sox,
Detroit, by the way.
And we're going to have a wonderful series. It's going to go 6 or 7 games, and may the best team win.
Oh, good.
Hopefully it'll be us, but...
That was politically correct.
that was good. That was good.
Well, Father, it's great to have you with us, and great to have you celebrating Mass this morning. And I know you've done that for many years in many different places, and you have preached so many missions in parishes, and that has been kind of the impetus for this book and also the blog that's behind it, the real people who make up Christ's body.
Exactly. When I started to write this book, you know, we're in the after years of the scandals and all of that business, and I thought, I want to write a book about the church that's positive. Not one that's hiding behind rose-colored glasses, but one that presents the church through all sorts of people who live their faith in all sorts of wonderful ways. I've been on Native American reservations. I've been with the African American community, Hispanic community. I speak Spanish. I've been with the very wealthy, the very poor. Been in all sorts of towns, city and country. And it's just inspiring to me to see the many, many different ways that the faith is being lived. Even sometimes in places you wouldn't think of as faith-filled places, like a prison. One of the delights of my life, and it's mentioned in the book, was giving First Communion to a man in a county jail in Wisconsin a couple of years ago.
How do you think that all of these different experiences that you've had have added to your priesthood?
Well, as priests, we're called to serve the people of God, the body of Christ. One of my favorite quotes from Jesus is, I came not to be served, but to serve and to give my life as ransom for the many. And I think we priests are supposed to imitate that, and Pope Francis certainly has been an inspiration to us in doing that. But I think the perspective that I bring when I give a mission, not only me, John Anglin, but any priest, say from an order who has traveled, been in missions and things like that, we can bring the wider perspective to the local church. As we go into a town, a local parish church, and you know, we can bring awareness of what's going on in the wider church.
Now, you're a preacher, Father John, and you did a marvelous job preaching right here on Catholic TV this morning. But then you made this transition to the blog and then the book, The Wandering Friar. How was it to make the transition from speaking to people to communicating through the written word?
Actually, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it might be. The challenge in doing the book was finding the time to take extra time to sit down and write it. But I have several priest friends, Franciscans, who have written books, and we see everything that we do. My ministry is called the Franciscan Ministry of the Word, and we see everything that we do, whether it's actual preaching in church, writing a book, going on the internet, it's all part of the ministry of the Word, of preaching the Word. And the nice thing, I was able to just sit down and reminisce, and all these wonderful experiences that I've been through came back to me. I just had to sit down and put it together. And I was very grateful as I was writing for the good foundation I had in grammar in Catholic grammar school. I thought of my 7th grade teacher, Sister Drusilla. She's a sister of St. Joseph. She's out in Framingham now. Her name is now Sister Eunice, but she had us diagramming sentences and all the grammar stuff and everything. So when I would finish some writing, I'd go over it and I'd say, what would she think? Or what would Father Francis, a friar that I had in high school, think?
She's probably watching right now, too.
She may well be.
When someone reads the book, what do you want them to take away from it? Is it a time for them to pray and reflect? What do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with a sense of, wow, I never thought of the church in this way. when I hear the phrase the church, I think of the Pope and the bishops and the Vatican and the local chancery office. And of course, all of that is the church, and I say nothing negative about that in the book. But I want people to see that we really mean it when we say the church is the people of God, it's the body of Christ, it's everybody. And yes, the leaders have their role, and it's vitally important, but the church is all of this.
Now, earlier I was going on and on about Pope Francis, and we heard some of his words. I got to ask you, just priest to priest, could you share with us, what are your impressions of Pope Francis?
I'm amazed that almost every day when I go on the internet, I want to know what's the Pope been up to today. Now, not that I didn't pay attention to Pope John Paul and Pope Benedict, and earlier in my priesthood, Pope Paul VI, but not with the frequency. He's such a different man and calling us in such a unique way. I speak Italian as my third language, Spanish is my second, and the night that he was elected, the talk that he gave from the blessing, it was like a grandfather, un nonno italiano, speaking to the family. And he ended that talk with buonasera e buon riposo, which is just what a father would say to the family.
Exactly.
Well, if people were interested, I'm sure they are, where would they get a copy of this book? How do they get it?
Well, one of the easiest ways is to go on Amazon. A lot of people get their books on Amazon.com, and you can get the paperback that Father's holding up now, and there's also a Kindle version. You can also go to, the book has its own website, which I believe is going to be posted on the TV screen.
There it is.
There it is.
The wanderingfriar.tateauthor.com. You can buy the book from that site. You can also go to my Facebook page and my Twitter.
Perfect.
Father, thank you so much for joining us today. All your great work. We'll have you back again since
Great.
you are right here in the, well, not now, but you
I
come
get
and
up
go.
several times a
You
year,
come and go.
right.
So we'll have you back in.